Buses carrying Palestinian prisoners released from the Israeli prisons arrived in the West Bank yesterday. A lot of people showed up as part of the U.S. brokered ceasefire deal. Israel released 250 Palestinians serving long-term in Israeli prisons and 1,700 others detained in Gaza during the war after the release of those 20 living Israeli hostages. Hamas freed the last 20 surviving Israeli hostages earlier on Monday. The deal, which was signed yesterday in Egypt, ends the Israel-Hamas war and develops a long-term vision to rebuild the devastated Palestinian territory. This agreement is being applauded also by other world leaders. Well, before leaving Egypt, President Trump stressed the historic nature of the deal and the unity at this moment.
This is the first time the Middle East crisis has brought people together as opposed to driving them apart, and to declare that our future will not be ruled by the fights of the generations past, which is foolish. So together, let us continue in the spirit of cooperation and goodwill that has finally brought us to this incredible, historic breakthrough.
All right, so what unfolded Monday really marked a turning point with hostages freed, the prisoners released, as you saw, and a fragile ceasefire now taking hold. But what does that mean? What does the moment mean for Jewish communities here in Metro Atlanta, and how are local organizations processing both the relief and perhaps uncertainty that's still ahead? Let's bring in Dov Wilker, Southeastern Regional Director for the American Jewish Committee, to talk about the impact and the emotions that a lot of people are feeling here at home. Dov, good to see you this morning. I want to start with this. What does this moment mean for the Jewish community, specifically here in Metro Atlanta?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is a moment of unprecedented joy and relief for the Jewish community and for the people of Israel, both in the United States and around the world. I myself was weeping tears of joy as I watched the videos of the 20 living hostages returning to their families, witnessing the end of the struggle that they have faced for over 738 days until their return to their family and loved ones in Israel.
It certainly has been a long time coming. You mentioned you were in tears, were relieved, but is there also perhaps a bit of anxiety? Is that what you feel, or what others perhaps in the community feel?
Yeah, to be honest, right now, this is not about anxiety. This is a moment of joy for all of us. For the past 2 years, we have been fighting every single day, calling for the release of the hostages at the hands of a terrorist organization, Hamas. So for all of us, seeing them return home is something that we've been hoping for and praying for. And at the same time, there are still 24 dead hostages who are being held in Gaza, for whom we are awaiting their return. So it's not so much anxiety as it is sadness that those families are not complete until their bodies of their loved ones have been returned. Absolutely.
That is still very much part of the conversation. And we saw so much of this play out in real time on television yesterday, a lot of the emotional reunions. What types of conversations are you having within your own circles about what we've seen so far this week?
Yeah, again, today actually is the 2-year anniversary of the attack on the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah. So for all of us, part of this is an unbelievable nature that 2 years after this war should now be over, the elation of the families and loved ones being returned home, the fact that the trauma of the Jewish community and for the people of Israel over the past 2 years should also be coming to an end. We have seen an unbelievable rise in anti-Semitism over these past 2 years that has absolutely caused anxiety amongst our community wherever we go, whenever we gather. And so our emotions have turned towards hopefulness and towards relief over the forthcoming future. And also a hope that this ceasefire, that this pause ends, that it continues, so that we don't have to witness any more fighting and any more tragedy for anyone in the region.
Yeah, I think that is the hope from a lot of people. And from your perspective leading into that, do you feel like this is truly a meaningful step toward peace, or perhaps just a pause at this point in the fighting?
I truly believe that this is a meaningful step towards peace. As you heard President Trump say, the gathering of all of these nations, the Arab countries, the Muslim countries, over 20 of them in Egypt yesterday, demonstrates a next step for the future of the Israeli-Arab conflict. And we have to keep the momentum moving forward. whether it's Israel's agreements with Saudi Arabia, Syria, Lebanon, Indonesia, even the largest Muslim country in the world, continuing to strengthen these relations, to deepen interreligious understanding between the Jewish and Muslim communities, and creating a path forward for all of us to better understand our neighbors.
And Dov, you mentioned yesterday for you and many others was a day of relief, a day of elation, celebration. How does the community balance celebrating the release of those hostages with, as you mentioned, the realities of those who are deceased and remain in Gaza and Israel?
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to grasp, especially as you mentioned earlier, the release of the 250 Palestinians who were serving life sentences for organizing of terrorist attacks on Israel. There's obviously some concern about the future, about the release of these types of prisoners, about the return of all the dead hostages. And we have to remember that we have to stay focused, we have to stay positive. The creation of the State of Israel is absolutely a miracle for the Jewish people. And so we believe, by believing in miracles, we know that this too will continue and set us on a new path forward, not just for the Jewish community in the United States or around the world, but also, or in particular, for the people of Israel with their neighbors.
And before you go, we have about 20 seconds left. After everything that's happened here over the past 2 years, what does hope look like for you in the community right now?
Hope for me is being able to take off my yellow ribbon pin that represents the hostages, to know that those 20 living hostages have now returned home. So I'm hopeful that I never have to put this pin back on my lapel.
All right, Dov Wilker, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.